Hey y'all, this week is going to be a little bit different than normal. We have Shannon back for our first kind of counseling of season 3, but this time we're going to flip the script. As someone who conducts a lot of interviews, I'm actually going to be the one in the hot seat today. It was her idea, which I thought was so fun, to just have an episode where, as someone who's known me for almost 20 years, she gets to ask me a lot of questions that maybe y'all wonder. I know you get to see a little bit of my life in these conversations. And online and stuff. But yeah, we decided to put me in the hot seat. So this is a really fun, low-key, obviously lighthearted conversation. But if you've ever wondered a little bit more about me, about Conor and me, about my family, about my insecurities, whatever we cover, we're going to get all into it here. So I hope y'all enjoy this and just learning a little bit more about what's going on with me right now from somebody who's walk through it all in real time. So y'all enjoy this week. It's an interview with me. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're going to do things a little different, change it up a bit. And I'm just going to toss it to Shannon and let her tell you why and what we're doing.
I'm now hosting a podcast.
Woohoo!
Okay, so last time we were here, we were talking about ideas of what to do next. And I thought it'd be fun to interview you because, let's be real, everyone is here because of you. This is your podcast. And I thought it'd be fun for people to get to peek inside a little bit of your life.
Yeah.
Because you're always interviewing.
Yeah.
And you share on social media, but this is like some more intentional questions.
Yeah, for sure. No, I loved this when you mentioned it, especially as we're like getting into a third season of the show. And these have done so well. We've gotten such good feedback from everybody. And I feel like the kind of counseling in general is like a step more personal. And so, yeah, I loved this idea. Like, let's just switch and flip the script. And honestly, I loved it. I told you yesterday, I was like, I almost forgot we had a recording because I've done zero prep for this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I love
take
it.
That off
like,
your plate.
Let's do it all the time.
Well, and it's fun for me because I get to see you like intimately day in, day out. Like we got to, we're doing life together. So it's fun to kind of get to be the person to like pull the curtain back a little bit. And like, because you're the most wonderful person truly ever. And it makes me excited for everyone to get to see a little bit more of you.
I'm mostly not nervous, only because I trust you. But like,
oh gosh,
Shannon has the stuff that could end this show in a swift second. I trust that is not a part of the interview.
Yeah, that would not be a very friendly gesture.
No, it wouldn't. That would be the end.
Also, I love that your stuff is not something that would end a show. Just more like you would be embarrassed for a second. Okay, so we've done this before in the beginning, but just a little bit about us. We started going to the same high school.
Whenever you came. Freshman or sophomore year.
It's really bad that I don't remember.
I feel like it was sophomore year, but.
Yes, that's right. Okay. And I was dating my like little high school boyfriend. Was one of your best friends.
Yes.
So we started hanging out. We spent like, I'm pretty sure for a solid 3 years, every weekend together at the lake when you weren't at basketball camp. So there was a lot of bonding there.
Yes.
And we just like loved each other.
Yeah.
Like we just I think we had a lot of fun.
Of course.
And college kind of like went our separate way, like talked, but not,
like,
just like we were doing our own thing.
As a result of anything.
No
like
falling out.
Different
just
schools
kind of different
places and whatever.
Yeah. And then, but I think it was our senior year of college. We met a mutual friend.
We went to Louisville.
Yes.
One of our friends played soccer at Louisville. I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah. And just like, it's like we picked right back up.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
And kind of just went from there. And I feel like we have this unique relationship where we can do all the fun things and be silly and excited and goofy and like over the top. But also you're the person that I go to for all like Mattie is my pseudotherapist.
It's quite an honor. I've said before,
We
it's like being the doctor to a doctor. Like, what a thrill.
Yeah.
Little pressure, a lot of honor.
You have done a great job. Brought me through a lot. And I feel like the roles are,
100%. Yeah.
It's reciprocated.
I feel as if I'm crossing like some sort of HIPAA boundary
No,
sometimes.
my
No, I'm
God.
just kidding. I feel like I get more out of that probably than you, but that's kind. But yeah, I think that's part of why obviously like your career is why we do the topics and cover the topics we do. But that's why I like having you here is like I really do feel like, and I can say this on our core friend group as a whole. I
Yeah.
think there aren't a lot of pieces of us that are hidden at all,
No.
if at all.
No.
And that's a really, I think it's a rarer thing than we pause to realize and appreciate
Yeah.
as much as we should. So
I would, if I had to put like a label on our group, it would be like fully known, fully loved. Everyone knows all the
for
stuff.
sure.
And so, but it's a very intimate,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're really blessed to have that.
100%.
So anyways, it's fun for me to get to ask you these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all have some like more intense questions and then some fun questions. So
Yeah.
we're just going to do both. So,
Which
first
is
one,
reflective of Shannon in real life.
yeah,
like,
that is very true.
on a girls' weekend, she's like, let's dive deep. And who wants another glass of wine? And let's
Yes.
play a game. And I
Yes.
love ping pong. And what's your biggest fear? And we love her for that.
That is me too.
It's good.
Yeah. It's probably like whiplash sometimes, but
No,
here we
it's
are.
emotional stretching.
Okay. Fun question.
Fun question.
Favorite memory of us? I know that's also a really hard question because there's a lot of years, but like
It is
just,
a lot of years.
Off the top of your head.
Can I say a couple?
Yes.
Like from different eras? For some reason, and it's probably only because we have pictures of it that I have somewhere in a cloud or something. I have a very specific memory of you and I and a couple of the other girls that we're close with being at your dad's house, which we hung out at a lot, and doing like an Italian pizza and quote unquote wine night.
Yeah. No reservations.
Yeah. Is that what? Yes.
we
and
watched
watched
that
that
movie.
movie. Because we all loved food and cooking. Like we did that a lot in high
A
school.
lot.
And we made pizzas, I say from scratch. We probably bought the dough. I don't know.
No,
But
we made it from scratch.
okay. Well, I remember doing it and having the big pans and yada yada and like doing sparkling grape juice in your dad's wine glasses. And like, I think I remember it because I remember my seersucker outfit that I was wearing from the pictures
Probably from
with
Abercrombie's
nostalgia and embarrassment, for sure. And I don't know why that's a profound memory, but I thought that was really fun. And it like seems cool that 20 years later, that's like legitimately still what we do is
Literally, it's the same.
just cook and have wine and hang out, or real wine now. So
yeah,
I
we've
remember
moved
that.
on from sparkling grape juice.
Yeah, I remember that. That's a really fond memory. I remember going to the steeplechase races for the first time with y'all. That was the first time I had gone because it's like the mini Kentucky Derby in Nashville for people who did, which we did in high school and college, and that was really fun because I think your dad was sort of in that world and my parents weren't. It was really fun to go and you dress up and do the hats and the whole thing. So I remember kind of being introduced to that with you and your family. And then like in adult life, I feel like to deep dive off the bat.
Here we go.
I have a couple very specific memories. One, from my first kind of few months of grief, and one from a really hard season you went through when we were in our mid-20s, that for some reason, like we were each other's first safe call. And I remember getting the call from you sort of, and we were like more newly getting close as friends, as adults, and thinking, like, I wonder why she called me, but I'll be there, you know? Like, and that was really the first adult hardship that I feel like I was a part of. And I had no idea how to handle it, but I remember walking through that season with you and feeling like this is what life really is, and feeling grateful for that. And then obviously vice versa in dealing with grief and really more of the fallout of like when I didn't do grief well. I feel like you were the person that was there. And so those are really profound moments. And then to come back up, the one we laugh about all the time, which I feel like we told someone recently, and it's like not a great story, but it is very profound in my mind. But I remember being at your house sometime in the last like 7 or 8 years. I don't know if Brooks was born. Like, I don't know if I don't know if he was a baby or he was there. I don't remember. somehow in my mind, I feel like he was in the kitchen. I don't know.
I
Doesn't
can't
matter.
remember.
But we were there, and like, I think I was just starting like Salt and Vine or something. Like, I just sort of started to like be in business or be public in some way, and did something stupid, like was fumbling around your kitchen and was like, found your bowl of fruit, and I was like, oh, apple. Like, I love apple. And like,
Yeah.
I love to do impressions,
Voices.
like voices.
Yes, that's
and I was like,
excellent voices.
it was like a very Midwestern, so I apologize to anybody who actually is, but for some reason that like tickled you.
Oh,
and
we cracked
and
up.
we were like crying, laughing, and I just remember you saying like, this is the you that I wish the whole world saw.
Yeah.
And it was a profound moment for me, because sometimes I realize now like that's my reminder word of like, okay,
Yes.
I'm trying to impress, or I'm trying to be polished, or I'm trying to be whatever, fill in the blank. And like, I need a little more apple in my life
A little more
right
apple.
now. And so that has had a big impact on me.
It's
I
like a
doubt it
core
has
word.
a huge impact
No.
on anybody else. But, you know, whatever that is for you, it's an important reminder. So,
But I love that you bring that up, because that's kind of why I wanted to do this. You've been in the spotlight your whole life, so you've had to be polished and, you know, more private because your world is on display. And so to get to see the goofy, just like silly side, the voices, the Grinch voice. I mean, at some point, did it come out during the Christmas one?
I did the
Okay.
Grinch voice on here, the Christmas episode.
Like, that is who I know.
Yeah.
And the unpolished version of you, and it's so beautiful. I love it so much. Which is why I wanted to do this.
That's why and that's where the show, not like, I remember sitting and talking with my producer that helped me launch this whole thing, who knew me through a lot of the grief years too, and just saying like, I really am. I try very intentionally to never present something that isn't true to the world.
Yeah.
But you want to present your best, and a lot of what the world has seen about me has been hard, and it has been deep, because deep calls to deep, right? Scripture says, like, and that's my story, and that's what I feel like I have to offer people through my experience. And I just feel like there's a huge part of me that isn't that, and that people are missing. And so that's why this show matters. And that's why I feel like having people who've known me through every phase and know every part, like, it doesn't, I want the whole picture to be represented.
Yes.
And I'm really fun. And
the
like
most
a little,
the most fun.
like, irreverent. We're not going to do that, but like,
Yeah,
kind
but
of a
that
dark
is-
sense of humor.
yeah.
And so we can go to the next thing.
I would like to also state in this that I don't remember. It was in the last couple of weeks. Everyone at this point knows that Mattie's pregnant, which is one of the questions I'm about to ask. But, you know, not drinking in pregnancy, because can't. And I think like a month into it, maybe it was 2 months, she was like, you know what? I'm just really naturally fun. Like, I don't even need alcohol. Like, I'm just a fun person.
It was a good affirmation. Like, this is not where, like, I actually am who I think, like, it doesn't make a difference.
No, it doesn't make any difference. You're the same either
And then
way.
I look back honestly on those like high school moments and stuff, and I'm like, I was like that.
Yes,
Like,
that
it
is who
always
you
has
are
been.
at your core.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
What is, and maybe you've already answered this, but I'm just going to ask it anyways, and we can see where it goes. What is something you want people to know about you that maybe they don't?
I mean, I guess I did jump the gun on that. I think that's part of it. Is just, you know, people, there's all sorts of people who grow up hearing like, oh, you have an old soul, like,
Yeah.
and I think that's true, and I think I'm grateful for that. I think there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of perspective that I've been able to have because of the way God made me that I'm thankful for.
Right.
But I think that there is more lightness to me and like silliness to me than people probably see. And I think for good reason, you know, like I said, a lot of what my experience has been and what I feel like I've been able to offer to people is how to do really hard stuff. And so that,
Right.
you know, doesn't have much of a place for silliness and lightness, although
Yeah.
I think humor is an integral part of healing and grieving.
Yes.
But, you know, I feel like people have lost that. And even I laugh because a friend of ours whose family knows the Smiths, just because our whole worlds are connected and whatever,
Yeah.
told me a few months ago, like when we started dating, that her mom was like, I just feel like Mattie is really serious for
Yeah.
Conor. And I was like, okay, that's
But I think that a
but
lot of
I
people
see
might see
why. Yeah,
that.
which is totally fine. I actually probably annoy him more than he annoys me intentionally. So he would testify to that. So I think it is a little bit of the lightness. And I think too, like, I am by nature a very secure and confident person. And I think, again, gift from God. And I think I would hope people look at that and think, oh man, like I can be that too, but also not think that they're lacking something. Like if their inherent nature is not, yeah, why not? Sure, I can do that. Because it doesn't mean that like I don't question
Right.
myself. And like actually, a lot of times I think people who appear to be the most confident probably hold the most fragile like fear of something not working. And so I still am thankful. I'm not I don't consider a lot of things impossible to do, but I think
Yeah.
the thought of them not being done well is probably a little more front of mind for me than people would realize. And so I hope they don't
Yes.
feel isolated by this idea that like, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty secure. I'm very secure,
You are secure.
but it doesn't mean like that's without question
Right.
and
They're not
worry.
mutually exclusive. You
Yeah,
can be
yeah.
secure and you can also have insecurities.
Correct.
Right? Like you're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. So I wanted to talk to you about the Enneagram because this is a big.
We love it.
We love it. We have conversations about it. When I say we, I mean our whole friend
Yeah.
group. You have had, or you have been on a couple podcasts, or have they been on? I can't remember.
Both. Yeah.
With Enneagram experts, but I don't know if we've.
I don't think I've
it, or if
talked.
it's
I don't
been.
think I've done any focus on it on Enjoy.
Okay, so here's what I want to hear from you. Tell us a little bit. We're not going to go into what the Enneagram is for those who don't know.
Yeah,
We can
most people do.
Go and look up the ones
Yeah.
from before. But tell us your number, which I think most people probably know at this point. What does that mean for you? And essentially, like, how do you apply all that you know about your number to your day-to-day life?
Yeah.
Like, what does it look like for you?
I love it. I actually remember you kind of telling me about it, thinking I would have interest when you were going through grad school, probably is when you learned about it.
I bet that is what it was, yeah.
And being like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't know, I'm not really into personality test. Just kind of like brushed it off, whatever. And just as context, the first time I really did dive into it or revisit the idea was after Ben passed. And I don't remember why it came back to the forefront. Like, I don't know if I saw something online or it came up in conversation again. I don't remember. But I remember being several months removed from that and thinking, like, maybe this can help me. And it did. And so I did the tests and stuff. There are different varieties of tests you can do, which are helpful. I read a couple of the books, which just as an endorsement, if you're interested in it, I think the books are probably a better way to go, just because
in the test, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because they're like 2 answer questions. It's hard to sometimes they don't apply, whatever.
Yes.
But when you read the one that is true of you, really, at least in my case, struck pretty deeply and felt very indicative of the last 20 years of my life at that point. And found out that I was a 3, which shocked me zero. Like I tested the top of it on every test. Like mine wasn't some big search. Like it was pretty evident.
Yeah. We've never questioned it either.
Yeah, which is the achiever or performer type.
What?
And essentially just the rundown of that was the way it's structured is sort of like, not here's the box that you live in, good luck with life. It's like, here's your internal programming in terms of how you see the world, what you need from others, and kind of like what is they call it biggest fear or like carnal sin, and they're kind of connected. So basically shows you like what are your needs and what are your stumbling blocks. And I think that's why I like it, because it has helped me become sort of a frame of reference or like guardrails to how I'm behaving and why, and is that leading me in a way that is the way I want to live, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So that's the broad endorsement. But anyway, I found it out a few months after Ben passed, and it felt, I think, even more immediately accurate because at that point, obviously, you are not operating at your best. You're likely operating at your worst.
Well,
And so,
yes.
or at your most stressed is the language
Yeah.
they use. And
Yes.
so essentially what it meant at that point was I could feel myself subconsciously or unconsciously like expecting myself to grieve well. I think I write about that in Lemons. Like, if I have to do this, especially if our family is public, I want to do this well and I want to grieve well. And like, I want people to see that you can do this and still trust the God that broke your heart. And I want people to see that you can do this and still celebrate other people. And like, I want to do this and have people see that like, it will impact your whole life. It will not define your whole life. Like this was the inherent perspective. And it really wasn't, it was not self-serving or arrogant, if that's how it sounds. It really wasn't. It was like, I want purpose from this. Like, that's just sort of the drive on everything.
Absolutely.
And so,
does not sound arrogant. You wanted to make the most of a bad situation,
yeah,
which is indicative of who you are.
Which aligned with the three, type. But then the guardrails became, okay, but what's the why? Like, we've talked about that a lot. Like, the Enneagram helps you know your why. And as long as my why was genuine of like, I want there to be purpose. I want this to help, show hope to others. I want this to refine me as a person and as a believer, and the why wasn't, I want to make sure I look good or I want to make sure people don't think less of me. Like, that's the dark side of the three why. And so anyway, that's sort of how it began. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me is keeping that in check is like, why am I doing these things? What is my motivation? If they do go well, is my gratitude and humility in check? And if they don't go well, do I realize that the people that love me, it has nothing to do with if it works or if it doesn't work. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. And the three is wired so much for perception, even more than, I would argue, even more than success. Some people are different and it really is about like the measurable success. But it's helped me realize like my constant mindset is whatever I do, whether positive or negative, how does that change how the person sees me?
Right. It's a perception thing.
Yeah.
In general. Like, how are you viewed?
And that's hard to choose to be in a position where people are always watching you. Like, it's kind of a catch-22.
Right.
But in working through that and, the last several years, it gives you freedom too when you realize like, this is not a thing for me to overcome. It's just a thing that I need to realize about myself and make sure that my like heart posture and mindset are in the right place. And so,
which I see you constantly doing. And you check in with yourself on this all the time. And I think that's hard for threes to be like, oh, I'm getting into the performative place. Or you're pretty self-aware of knowing when you do that in general. Like, I don't love these situations because I tend to do this. And I want to be mindful that I'm being true to who I really am. Like, you check in a lot on this.
Yeah. It's also freeing in terms of whatever your core fear or I think is the language.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that the threes was shame. And I was like, I don't think that applies. Like, I don't really understand. And then the more I kind of learned about it and paid attention, it's like, that's the instant feeling when I don't do something.
Yes.
Right. And it's not even about, this is what's fascinating. It's not even about the thing that I did wrong or didn't do well, or, if I tell a white lie and then feel convicted about it, like, it's not even about the lie itself. It's, again, about how that changes how the person sees me.
Yeah. It's
which
the
is
perception.
fascinating. So it helps at least for me in whatever you're core fear or cardinal sin or whatever is of your number, I think it helps realign with God's grace on those things where
Yeah.
it's like that shame has been wiped away. And that actually doesn't change how this person loves you. It's not about the action as much as it is about, or it's not about how the person sees the action. It's just about repenting from the action itself and moving on. It doesn't define you. It's just a thing.
Right. It's just a thing
Yeah.
that we all have our things.
Yeah.
And you've been able to recognize, okay, this is a thing
Mm-hmm.
and I can move on for it. There's grace.
Mm-hmm.
And you have very secure attachments
Mm-hmm.
in your life too. I think that to have the, I don't want to call it a safety net, I guess in a way it is, but like the comfort of like, you know that you are unconditionally loved
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to rest in that doesn't mean that you don't, I know that I know you and I know that you still want to come off as a certain way to people.
Yeah.
Right? You want them to see you a certain way. And that's
Yeah.
just going to be something that you're 3.
Yeah.
You're going to have that your whole life. But I think we talked this weekend about how for you the security is, I know that I'm loved.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have been through the worst.
Yeah.
And my friends still loved me and showed up. Like I was not perfect at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I messed up over and over in how I dealt with things.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're loved and we adore
I get
you.
it.
Yeah. And I think
Next.
the security in that.
Yeah.
Like there was,
huge.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately that's what we're all looking for, right?
Yeah. Just from in different ways with different questions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, just to kind of like launch into this next thing, to have the security too, because I know there was, I wouldn't say insecurity because you've always trusted God's, like I mean, not that you haven't struggled, like it's hard to be patient, but you've always trusted in God's plan for marrying again, kids, like even when it was hard. And I watched you cry and been like, it's just hard to wait.
Mm-hmm.
You always trusted in God's plan. And then now you have the security of this wonderful man
Yep.
who we all love and adore. And I know that you've said multiple people, I don't know how you necessarily interact with people on social media, but like want to know about Conor.
Yeah. Of
So,
course.
and
yeah.
Conor's a private person.
Especially, because he has no presence.
He's,
which I love about him.
yeah, totally. He does not care to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
But tell us, what did I put? Okay, describe Conor in 3 words.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is hard because I feel like he's
hard.
a lot of words.
He's a lot of words. Can I do 4?
You can do 10.
I'm not going to overdo that. But I feel like the first thing that always comes to mind is empathetic.
Mm.
He's very intuitive and very aware of how what he does impacts people. And he takes a lot of care in managing that, which is an amazing quality in a spouse.
Yes.
And playful is my favorite.
Very playful.
He really is. There's just, that is, you want to talk about having a type. Like I love that childlikeness, that playfulness, that silliness, that appleness. Like
we call him a golden retriever.
Yeah, he is. He is. And I love that. And I am so excited to see him be a dad in that way.
He will be. I've seen him as an uncle.
Yeah. Honestly, that was like the first thing that ever attracted me to him was growing up because his, brother is married to one of our best friends. And so I saw him only in the role of an uncle, like at the kids' parties and stuff. And it was so sexy to me. Like that, I was like, this is the kind of person that you want to do life in a family with. So
Conor does it with all of our kids, by the way. Like he will be hanging out and he like swoops my kids up. He's like, let's go play monster trucks upstairs.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be the best dad ever.
So yeah, empathetic, playful, passionate, which I think kind of goes along with that. That was sort of the add-on. I remember us talking with friends about the difference in, like, are you kind of the roller coaster emotion person? Not like unstable roller coaster, but like
high highs.
Do you feel high highs and low lows,
lows,
or do you feel kind of like steady? And I'm definitely the steady person. And so I think there's a lot of value in being with somebody who has that passion that, he gets so excited about stuff that he will interrupt me, which is frustrating and like does cause conflict sometimes, but it's like you can't help but admire somebody that has that sort of passion for something.
It literally bubbles over. Like,
Yeah,
when
it's
Connor's you
just
can, like, see it
unstoppable.
in his body
Yeah,
when he's excited about things, and
yeah,
you're like, it's like he's gonna explode.
it is, and
It's so cute.
yes, it is a joy to be around,
Yeah.
and there are pros and
Yeah,
cons to
yeah,
every quality.
always.
But I feel like, yeah, passion kind of goes along with that.
Okay, so we have
Playfulness,
empathetic, playful,
passionate,
passionate.
and genuine or
Mm,
sincere.
yeah.
Like, not that not that we're around a lot of people who aren't, but I think there are some people who have this like palpable sincerity.
Mhm.
Like he couldn't be deceitful if he tried.
Yeah. He
Um,
really couldn't.
and I think people recognize that immediately. Like we're, for example, in the middle of moving just to a different part of town, and he was over there like got to put up a fence for Ryman and all this stuff, and he met our neighbors, and um, I think they had been in the neighborhood forever, and we're kind of like, oh man, like, are you putting up a fence? And he was like, I felt bad because I didn't want them to feel like we were like not trying to have a
Yeah.
relationship with them or whatever, or cut them out and this and that. And I, went through this whole thing and found mutual connections. And I feel like, came home and told me this whole story about,
Yeah.
I think it really ended on a good note. Like, I don't want to start on a bad foot with them. And I was like,
Yeah.
you can't start on a bad foot with people.
Yeah.
Like, your sincerity oozes from who you are,
Yeah.
and just the safety that makes me feel like as a spouse. And also I think just what a refreshing change that is in a world that's
Yeah.
very filtered and about performance.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, he just can't be anything but what he is.
Yeah. He's so fun.
He's the best. I'm so incredibly grateful and, yeah, really excited to see him in this next phase. The first date we went on, I asked him, like, it was like a 4 or 5 hour ended up being a 4 or 5 hour
Yeah.
date. But I remember specifically asking him, like what in your life is your thing that you feel like when you're there, like you've made it? And he was like, oh, being a dad, 100%, like right off the bat. And so to just be right at the brink of that and like getting to know him even more deeply, like I just can't wait to see it.
It's going to be a fun
Yeah.
season for you guys.
Yeah.
So you're due June 25th,
25th.
which is 6 days after your birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've announced the gender?
Yes. Boy.
Yes. You may have one due on your birthday. Fun fact, Maddie's mom was like 2 weeks late with Mattie, but
Yeah.
Conor was a massive child.
Yeah, like basically 10 pounds.
So you may be having one on your birthday. We'll have to see.
Yeah, me and my OB are going to have a real heart to heart about that. We'll see where she lands. But,
Yeah, very curious about that.
Uh-huh.
Also can't wait.
Yeah.
But you are about to enter into this season that you have been, this is where I'll get emotional, so I just need to take a breath. By you, I mean you and all of us have been praying about and talking about and dreaming about for a very long time. I don't even know the years or so. I couldn't even put years on it because I don't even, I guess Ben died in 2000.
5.5
Okay.
at this point.
Like that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And he's going to be here. He's healthy. We're so excited. What are you most looking forward to in motherhood?
I mean,
as far as what you can imagine and plan.
Yeah. I think it feels almost surreal still, in spite of the fact that it's at this point that we're talking been 5 months and I can't wear any of my pants. I think the biggest thing before what I'm looking forward to that has been paramount to me in the last 5 months is like the savoring that we talk about a lot. Like that's been, I think, the word for me for the last couple years, because when you do wait for so long and when you do grieve that like this really may not happen, like, and you have to admit that honestly, even as you fight in prayer, which you have to hold both those things, and it's really difficult. My tendency is to just keep racing, and I've just tried so hard to not do that because I don't want to miss it. Like, I don't want to be like, I cried about this for 5.5 years and I didn't slow down enough to like take the belly picture every week, or like enjoy every part of it that comes. And so I've been trying to savor that a lot. And so I hope that can spill over into this summer in whatever way that's realistic. Because in a way, I know from y'all and just being a part of so many lives of new moms, like, it's slow and hectic at the same time.
It's quite the anomaly.
And so I hope that in that sort of drudge and slowness, I can still let the savoring kind of filter all the hard stuff. Like, that's my hope and prayer. And that's a lot of what we've talked about in preparing for this together.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hope. I mean, the sheer, like, what am I looking forward to most? I think it's that feeling of, like, being a solidified family.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that already,
but it is
with
different
us.
when
But
there's, like, you guys created something.
yeah, and just to, honestly, I think, have that even more profound feeling of, like, partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
like the like you are raising a child together.
yeah, I mean, it really feels like we laugh all the time. Like, we both were sports people. Like, we had the same basketball number. Like, it's just a ridiculous thing. But it's like, that's sort of, we're both very, like, team mindset oriented. And I think to have something beyond Ryman that unites us in that way is a feeling that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you have actually done a really good job of slowing down even in pregnancy and savoring. Like, I've watched you do that. I feel like you're less busy.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you've ever been, like, overly busy necessarily, but
yeah,
I can see you and Conor taking sweet time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
And it'll be really sweet. You can't do a whole lot
Yeah.
with a baby,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like forced
Exactly.
downtime.
Well, and not to miss the joy, and I know that's easy to say now, but, like, that all of these things that I've experienced in grief and all these things that I talk about here and sort of try to remind people of, I have already prepped him and y'all to, like, be the people who speak it back to me, because I know it won't be probably the immediate impulse feeling a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that, like, the whole premise of we can choose joy and hope and gratitude in these situations is, like, gonna be put to the test in a real way.
Yes.
And I am aware of that, and in a whatever, maybe, self-deprecating way, like, I'm looking forward to seeing if I can really kind of live up to those things in this season.
Yes.
In the way that I had to learn them, in
it's like the refinement piece, kind of, again, just in a very different place, which kind of leads me to the next question. What are you most nervous about? Like, when you think about, you've watched your friends go through this, all of them, and you've watched closely. For those of you who don't know, Mattie, I mean, she was there for all of the births, not in the room or at the hospital necessarily.
Post-birth. Yeah,
but, you walked through baby showers and births and birth stories and breastfeeding. I'm sure you have seen all of our boobs so many times at this point. And pumping and sobbing and toddlerhood, just like, the, like, heaviness of stuff, and postpartum with a few of us, so as you kind of reflect on that, knowing what you've seen and knowing yourself, like being a pretty self-reflective person, what is it that comes up for you that you think, oh gosh, that is the part that makes me a little nervous?
Well, I think to kind of stay on the, like, marriage part of it, I think every first-time mom has to be nervous how that's going to affect your marriage, especially because we, are having this baby a month after our anniversary. So it's not like we've been married for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think we're both very intentional to, like, talk about that and prepare for it. And so I think I'm hoping that the strains that it puts on will more times than not lead us back to turn toward each other, not, like, turn away. I think that's the thing, the visual that helps me. So, I mean, that's obviously just a realistic concern of like, this is going to change how we relate to each other. Like,
Yes.
I hope we have the endurance and clarity and like gentleness to one another to make that bring us closer. Like, I hope we can do that mostly well.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, in terms of just the actual baby and like being a mom, and I just think I think as much as I've seen, it's like you can't know how much it changes you or how you see yourself or how you see your body or like, you know, all the things that people talk about that you can understand, and you don't know how you're going to feel about that till you go through it.
Yeah.
And so
It's the unknown.
yeah. And I'm not like, change is not a thing that scares me anymore. I'm like ready for it. Like, we're having a new baby and moving into a new house, and I kind of like do these whole new chapters at one time. But I don't know. I think the thing that most concerns me is when things don't go how I expect them to, whether that's breastfeeding or he has an allergy or he can't sleep or, you know, whatever.
Possibilities are endless.
Yeah. You know, I hope that I've grown enough in these last years to not let those things that feel like shortcomings be reflective of like how I see myself.
Yeah.
You know, like kind of back to the Enneagram thing. Like,
Yeah.
just let it be what it is.
It is what it
and
is.
do your best to fix it and care for the baby and care for your family, but not fall back into that cycle of like how this is going is reflective of who I am. Because I know that's my trap.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to pray over you and watch you do it.
And I think navigating other people's expectations, which I feel like I'm pretty good at, but that still, even if again, cognitively, I can say like, that's fine that they think this way. It's fine that it doesn't align with what we're doing. There still is that underlying angst of like, oh, they think I'm not doing this well
and people
enough.
get real opinionated about parenting stuff. Yeah.
So there's
even people who aren't that opinionated would have
it just
strong
doesn't
opinions.
Seem like a fun thing to manage, but
yeah, and also
pony up.
I feel like that's something that moms have all had to do, where we talked about that recently. Like, you have to worry about your family and how you raise your family and not what other people think, because they are not you and they are not in your situation. They may have gone through parenting, through parenthood, but like it's going to look different for every single family. Yeah. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, also, I know that I should have done the math on this. I didn't realize, which I don't know. It's like funny to me that I didn't think about this. You'll have the baby a month after your 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, like 6 weeks.
Which you're going on a 1 year anniversary trip. Gonna get away, escape your little baby moon.
Yes, we will. We'll do it all at once. It's anniversary, baby moon.
It's gonna be a fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have that to like break up the third trimester. Okay, what is your perfect vacation?
It's funny because like the beach and mountain conversation, I feel like, is always the question. Honestly, I love both for different reasons. Oddly, I love the beach, and we both do, because we grew up sort of going to Florida all the time. I think there's something really peaceful about the sounds and the sights and the sun and all that. But like, I hate sand and I don't get in the ocean. So that's, you know, I like to sit by the pool and look at and walk on the beach. So that's just a lot of where I think our memories individually and together have come from. And so that's what we're doing in May. But man, we spent a week in Whitefish, Montana last year. And there is also something so incredibly grounding and like recentering, to use kind of a, you know, term that I don't say a lot, about the mountains and just the grandeur of it and how wonderfully small they make you feel.
Yeah, you came back feeling very refreshed from that trip.
So I realize you didn't ask location, but just to that little debate. I think what's interesting, and I noticed this when I went down to the beach for a couple days with my siblings right after like New Year's, I realized that like my perfect vacation doesn't look that different from my ideal day here. It's just in a more relaxing spot. Yeah. Like they kind of all look the same. Like it's slow morning, it's coffee, it's reading, it's walking or exercising in some way, and then just being outdoors and then having amazing food. Like that's a pretty lame answer, but that's how I would spend every day.
Yeah.
just in a prettier
Yeah,
location.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could have probably guessed that.
Yeah.
You do love being outside.
I do. It kills me to be in if it's pretty outside.
I know, which is
Yeah.
actually, I think today's supposed to rain. Yesterday was pretty.
Roll the dice.
You never,
Spring.
but we're almost there.
Yeah.
We're almost to spring. Okay, so I honestly feel like we could go for like hours, and I'm
Oh,
gonna
we
have
really
to
could.
like, kind of rein this in a little bit. But one of the things that I talked about asking you was about your family, because you have a lot of followers that
For sure.
love to, peek inside. Who doesn't? I'm sure
Yeah.
but it's funny because we never really, like,
Yeah.
it just is just like
It's
kind
just
of like
my
there's,
family.
yeah, it's just your family. So my question is, how are you like your dad?
Mm.
And how are you different than your dad?
This is interesting because I feel like my perception of that has changed over the years. Because when we were all younger, it was very like, Mattie's like dad, Allie's like mom,
Yeah.
Danny's the combination.
Yeah, we always said that.
Physically, that's 100%.
Yep.
Like, that's,
Yeah,
if you
long and
watch
lanky.
us, he doesn't walk great now because of the whole like thing. But
Yeah.
like, if you watched us walk, it's like eerie.
Yeah.
So I mean, physically in that way, and then of course, like, I think the writing and creative part of that is obviously where that comes from for me. And that's been really fun to kind of reassess and reevaluate and relive as an adult, because like his career, the bulk of it, was my childhood. So like his, first album, his first #1 hit was May of '90. I was born in June. So it's like my entire childhood was his career building and thriving and all this stuff. So we were very in it, but you're a kid. So like once I was in college and a young adult, and I really found this love for writing and words, to go back and have, at this point, 30 years of material to re-experience has been amazing.
Yeah.
And to see like how he as a songwriter and me as a writer or communicator or whatever, like to see how those things are similar and to see how they're different, just in terms of our age and gender and experiences and education, and like just everything that was different about my life that from his. But it's cool. I mean, in that way, I think we're both probably a lot more emotional than we let on, and a lot of it comes out that way. And I think he's so incredibly other focused. Like,
he is.
Our entire lives, like, you remember this, it's like we grew up on a farm, and we had these wonderful ponds and dune buggies and all this stuff to do, and it like genuinely for him was never about having the stuff. It was about sitting on their porch and watching us love that stuff.
That's literally what they did.
And that's still what he does. Like, he just put up a swing set for Allie's son, who screams every time he gets on it. Like, he doesn't want it, but like, he's provided it, and one day Jack's gonna love it.
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot as an adult. Like, the way that, we've always called my house like the sorority house, and just, I love people in and out, and I love to host and entertain, but like, I use paper plates because all I want to see is people loving it, and like love each other. And so I feel that. And then I think in the ways that we're different, I don't think he has the like performative thing. Like, it's ironic because he performs for a living.
Yeah.
But I think
probably burnt out on it.
Yeah, that may be why. He may have had it when he was like
I'm done.
30.
Yeah.
But he is still very introverted and still very to himself, and still, he doesn't care about the thousands of awards. Like, he just does it because he loves writing and he loves music, and that's true for me too. But I think I have more of a bend to be willing to be in front of a camera and speak, and I have more of an extroverted bend.
Yes.
Even though I think deep down I'm probably right in the middle.
Yeah, he is definitely more introverted.
Yeah.
One of the things that I see the most, and I was just thinking about as you were talking, is both of you have this tendency. It is like one of my favorite things in both of you. that
nervous.
you guys, no, you'll love it. You guys, your dad and you in comfortable situations when it's a smaller group or it's like your people have the innate ability to make the funniest, most witty comments always under your breath. So the only people that can hear it are sitting directly next to you. Your dad, I have to like literally lean in and be like, did you just say what I think you said? And they are the funniest, like the funniest comments. Like someone could write a book on like Alan Jackson,
Under the
Mattie
breath.
Jackson under the breath. It is something you both, and y'all do it the same way too. Like everything about it, the mannerisms with it, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I received that.
Yes.
I appreciate that from him.
Like your dad doesn't say much.
Yeah.
But when he does,
it zings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very witty.
He's better though. Like he has the quality where he won't laugh at his own stuff.
He does not laugh
Oh my
at his
gosh,
own.
I laugh at myself. If it's funny, I mean, like I'm laughing.
Yeah.
If it tastes good, I'm saying yum. Like if it's funny, I'll laugh. No, he's stone cold. It is pretty.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Truly fabulous quality. Well, like I said, I feel like we could go on and on.
No, this was fun. I feel like this is a lot of stuff that feels, familiar to us, but we don't talk a lot about it on here.
So here's how I want to end it, because I feel like this is how I would bookmark things with you anyways. Tell us your favorite verse right now that you are clinging to in this season.
That's great.
Because Mattie's always clinging to a verse. Mm-hmm. I guess we didn't really talk about this, but everyone knows everything Mattie does, for the most part, being human, points back to Jesus. And it's one of my favorite things about her is that when I come to her and I'm frustrated, I come to her and I'm sad, I come to her and I'm happy, you always point me to Jesus. And you do this with everyone. And you do it to yourself, with yourself. So what is the verse that you are clinging to in this season?
The one that comes to mind is from Isaiah 43, and I know that specifically because I'm getting ready to go to the Never Alone Widow conference that happens every year that I get to speak at. I just adore everything about them. And last year, the verse for that conference was Isaiah 43, and it says, it tells us to behold not the former things, that God is doing a new thing. And it goes on to say that he's making ways in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And why that is so big for me right now is because I feel like that's what I clung to in all these years of waiting and wanting and wondering and praying and crying and hoping and all this stuff. And so to be on the brink of those, I mean, to be in them, like this is a new thing. Like
this
everything
is
a new thing.
Yes.
And to be in what feels like a redemption waterfall is unreal. And so to like remember what it felt like on the front side of that and then be in this place where those things are happening, like feels unreal. Like I think I've said to you before, a lot of times I feel like when I tell my story or talk about stuff, I've kind of felt like a witness to this. Like once you get out of the trenches of it and like you have stability in your life, I feel like I've just watched God paint this picture that's, I'm in, but I'm out of, you know? And I don't mean that in a weird, like metaphysical way.
Well, it is.
I feel like I've watched the coolest story I could ever imagine. And like, I get to be in those streams and be in that way. And those new things won't be without struggle too. Right. So it's like to carry that in and then cling again to that verse in whatever, struggle is ahead in the answered prayer. Like just to have that perspective that it's he's making all things new. Yeah. And that's like the way you want to live life. Yeah. Like I said, I used to like fear change and I don't anymore. Yeah. It's like kind of exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
So that's probably it.
I love that. Yeah. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Feels very appropriate.
Yeah. And joy in all circumstances. Rejoice in all things. Pray in all things. Give thanks in all circumstances. I botched it.
Why we're here. Enjoy life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And just, yes.
That's why you wanted to do this.
Yes.
Yeah. Finding joy even when
and that it's okay to, if you're in a season too, that you're like, wow, all this really happened, like savor, enjoy. Like there's you don't get a prize for like
Martyring.
Yeah, martyring. Like, if you're
Yeah.
in an awesome season, then
Like,
have an
enjoy
awesome
it.
time.
Yes.
Like,
Enjoy it. Yeah.
you'll come
God
back
wants
down.
that.
I'll come back
Yes.
down. Like,
Yeah.
enjoy the blessing.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, this was really fun.
Really fun. I hope
I
y'all
love
enjoyed
this.
it. I feel like we haven't even, like, we've just been
I
chatting.
know it feels like a normal, like,
Yeah.
I mean, minus I know the answers to a lot of the questions, but
Yeah.
this is like, it's just fun. I love people getting to see,
Yeah.
you know, where you get to answer the questions.
It's fun. I enjoy doing both.
You're a fun person.
Try to be.
I try to be.
It just comes natural.
Yeah.
Thanks to
Well,
Alan.
yeah.
Well, yeah, we hope y'all enjoyed this. Obviously give us your feedback. We'll be back
Yeah.
for a few more
Yeah.
of our regular topical episodes throughout the spring. And yeah, I haven't really set an end date on this season, but I'll tell you it'll be before June 25th.
It will be before June 25th.
We'll be back in the fall,
Yeah.
but we have several more months before that happens.
Yes.
So.
The microphone may not be able to reach
Yeah,
your mouth
it'll be
here
out
in
here,
the, yeah.
but we'll keep doing what we're doing.
All right.
Thanks, Shan.
Yeah.
This was really
Had a
fun.
blast. Love you.